Guys, first off, thank you so much for being here this wonderful morning. It is Thursday. I see some familiar faces. Hi, Kim. Hi, Vicky. Vicky, I can't see your face, but you know what I mean. Um, so my name's Michael Abbott. I am the one of the board of director members for the association. And it's, in case you didn't know, it's the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals. So thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for participating in our Ask the Underwriter. So it's pretty exciting, to be able to pick the brain of somebody who is actively involved with approving our files, right? Dion, approving. So just to kind of give you a little quick background about the lovely and talented Miss Dion Bass. She has 25 years of mortgage banking experience. She is the founder of Ask the Underwriter, which is a mentoring group that gives us the secrets of underwriting. She lets us in behind the curtain. She's been a contract underwriter for 3 major mortgage companies, as well as she's underwritten for several major lending institutions. And she also writes and performs seminars and webinars and workshops for various mortgage brokers for over 18 years. During her time at different mortgage underwriting assignments, she also has spent most of the day on the phone helping us figure out how to restructure our files, telling us about the mortgage process, and helping explain some of the basic mortgage fundamentals. So in spite of the fact that she's busy doing her underwriting role, she also began developing weekend seminars where she can explain the process, help us understand better, help our processors and our teams get through the underwriting process more efficiently. So Alpha Mortgage Training, which does business as Ask the Underwriter, that entity was born. And guys, we are going to get started. There's actually a website, by the way. Write this down. I'm going to drop it in the chat group. It is www.asktheunderwriter.net for more information if you want to get some inside scoop and pick Dion's brain or get involved with some of her other training opportunities. She's also, it's not in her bio that I was reading. I know you couldn't tell that I was reading it. It's very smooth, right? But she also teaches continuing education for mortgage loan officers in Florida. And she does that for the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals. She also was the author of the Florida law portion of our continuing ed. So with no further ado, no further fanfare, pumpkins, no trumpets, or any other musical instruments, ladies and gentlemen, the lovely and talented Miss Dion Bass.
Hi, everybody. It is always so very fun to get on here with the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals. This is actually not my first time doing kind of like a Ask the Underwriter webinar with the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals. So I do challenge you guys to reach out and ask for one of the other recordings if you missed it. But I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping really quick. I dropped a link inside of the chat room because one of the things that I wanted you guys to know is that the purpose of this is not necessarily to show you how to get a condo approved, a new condo approved, or anything like that. From an underwriting standpoint, I'm always trying to show you guys how to get past the no, how to get past a challenging situation. And so what you're probably going to see me talk about a lot is litigation. I have helped a few different people turn over some litigation issues simply because there are different things that we're looking for when a property is in litigation. So there is some basic information. I'm going to focus a little bit on litigation, talk a little bit about Florida because you guys are in Florida, and I will do my best to answer any questions that you guys have. So I am going to share my screen and we are going to get started. I am curious to know if you guys don't mind, if you guys don't mind dropping in the chat, I am curious to know what would you say your experience level is? Would you say it was between kind of 1 to 5 years early, kind of medium, somewhere between 5 to 7 years or over 20 years? Just curious to know who is visiting us today. And just drop the number of years in the chat. Ooh, it looks like Justin and Ingrid should probably take over and start teaching this class. 43 years and 27 years. Ryan's up there too, 19 years. Dawn is 30 years. Woo! I have met Mr. Josephat. I met you at the Florida Associations. Yes. And then my conference buddy is in here, the traveling broker. Yes, she's waving at us. Miss Kim. Cool. Okay, so we got a lot of experience in this room. So I am really hoping that I do not bore you guys with my information, but I'm just going to go ahead and go on. So despite what everybody thinks, it is not our mission to kill every condo loan. That is not what our mission is. We want the business. And so if I had to kind of describe what we're looking for, what we're focusing on when we're reviewing these condos is we're looking for project eligibility and we're looking for the financial strength of that condo association. Does this condo, is this condo able to support itself? Are we eligible? Is this condo full of renters? Because, if the condo is full of renters, then it's an apartment building. It's not really a condo association. So we're looking for the financial strength. And you're going to see this in some of my, let me see if my laser pointer, my laser pointer is working today. You'll see these little things down here at the bottom of some of my screens. And the reason why is because this is a sneak peek of a course that I have written called Underwriting Secrets Revealed. And I'm huge on guidelines. And so when I talk about something, I like to let you guys know where I'm getting that information from. And this is kind of the click path down here from me talking about the condo risk, project eligibility, financial strength. All right. Now, most of us are familiar with the different types of condos. Now, we got the manufactured home condos, which I believe Freddie Mac is the one that kind of does those. We've got established condos. We know what an established condo is. We've got the detached condos. That's really huge down here, especially down here in Georgia. I am in Georgia, guys. That's really huge when you're dealing with the 55 and older communities. The 2 to 4 unit condo projects. I don't see a lot of those here in Georgia. I don't know about you guys in Florida, but when I was in Chicago, which is where I'm from, you saw a lot of that, a lot of 2 to 4 unit condos. And then, of course, everybody's cringeworthy favorite, the new condo projects. And so the link that I put in here is giving you the information that you need when you're dealing with a new condo, because I'm not really going to kind of like focus a lot on that, because that's kind of the PERS situation where you kind of go into Fannie Mae's website and get it approved and everything. So I do suggest that you click on that, save it inside of your favorites. I'm huge on saving things in your favorites. Now, there are 16 items listed underneath ineligible projects. Okay, long list. Once again, there's my click path. You see, I'm huge on guidelines. And I like to call those things showstoppers. And we all know that a hotel cannot be a condo. They cannot be a hotel, or it can't be managed by a hotel or whatever have you. Split or curtail borrower use. It can't be, like a split ownership where it's like, we're doing this over here and then we're doing this over here. Project subject to split ownership arrangements. All right, same thing. No more than 35% commercial use. This was huge in Chicago. Not sure how that is in Florida, but in Chicago, what ends up happening is you've got this bottom floor that's got department stores, restaurants, and all that stuff. And then on top are the condos. So, the agencies don't want to see more than 35% of that being commercial use. Now, another showstopper is litigation or pre-litigation activity. But like I said to you guys before, it's not really a no, okay? Now, if I do determine that there is some pending litigation involved, all right, the first thing we need to find out is what impact is it going to have on the actual safety, the structure, the soundness, is it habitable? Can the project still function? Because what ends up happening is the knee-jerk reaction to litigation when they see it is an absolute no. We're at a very, very kind of like weird place in the mortgage industry where where the underwriters are either brand new or they're the old school underwriters. I'm not going to name any names or any companies or anything, but when you see a form and it does show that there is a litigation, before you send that to your underwriter, we want to reach out and find out what does that litigation involve, okay? Now, if it's non-monetary, okay, but not limited to, like neighbor disputes or quad or whatever have you, if the insurance carrier has agreed, all right, to provide defense for this. So we're not in a situation where the insurance company doesn't know about this litigation or it's still up in the air. If the insurance company is going to go ahead and defend this, that means, of course, that they believe in it. We're good to go. If the HOA is the plaintiff and not and not a material, excuse me, and the matter is minor. Let's talk about what minor might be, something that's insignificant. A dispute between neighbors, or a dispute about the color of something, or a dispute about whether they can have this. Here's the other thing: as long as whatever that litigation is does not exceed 10% of the project's funded reserves. And that's huge, because when you're dealing with those condo HOA questionnaires, you're looking at all these numbers, but you're not really thinking about, why those numbers are important. An old school underwriter will tell you the reason why is because we need to make sure that the condo can not only support itself, but support any upcoming issues that might come. And right here is an example. It does not exceed 10% of that project's funded reserves. It is not working. All right, let's get rid of the pointer because it doesn't want to work. All right, so now, if the litigation is them seeking recovery of funds, all right, meaning maybe something happened and they had to cover like a roof or something. It's not a roof, something that they would have to cover. I've got teenage boys. They flooded something, and then all of a sudden the floor fell over, and then the condo association had to replace that floor, and now they're looking at me and saying, all right, Dion, your boys flooded our floor. We need our money back. So if they're seeking to recover funds, that's not a showstopper. Important. Does it impact the overall safety or structural soundness? Plaintiff is in the foreclosure action. So if the structure is fine, if it's safe, nothing going on with that. If they're trying to get somebody out, they're foreclosing on somebody, these are litigations or pre-litigation activities that should not stop. It should not make the underwriter say, no, I can't do this. So once again, litigation does not mean, oh God, we can't do this loan. What it means is that we need to do a little bit of research so that we can see how we can move forward. Now, litigation that involves personal injury or death does not meet Fannie Mae's criteria for a minor litigation unless the claim amount is reasonably anticipated or known. And so this situation would be if there was a personal injury or a death and they've gone through court and they know how much money they're going to be dishing out. The insurance company is involved. They're at the very end of it, or They're in the middle of it, but they know it's not an unknown factor. Okay. 2, if the insurance carrier has agreed to provide the defense, the reasonable anticipated known of the damages are going to be covered by that, HOA. If you notice, the insurance company really plays a big issue in these litigations. Okay. And the reason being is because I want to word this carefully. Insurance companies are smart. They know what they can beat. That's about the best way that I could say it. They pretty much have a good idea of what's going to fly and what's not going to fly. And so if the insurance company has the HOAs back, if the insurance company is saying, okay, this is how much it's going to be, we know that. That's why Fannie Mae has given that green light. That's why Freddie has given that green light to say, okay, you can move forward with this litigation because the insurance company is going to take care of this. Now, when it comes to single entity ownership, so we know that we've got 2 types. We got the 20 units, and then we've got like the 21 or more units, okay? And so when we're dealing with 20 units, all right, no more than 2 of those people, okay, can own one of those units. I don't know if you guys have ever seen one of those kind of like Airbnb situations or whatever have you, and somebody has like 3 or 4 condos inside of this like one unit and they're renting them out, okay? If you notice, those units are like way over 21 units. So when you're dealing with smaller ones, that number is a lot smaller. So when we're over 21 units, it's no more than that 20%. And we're going to see that when we get that homeowner. Why can't I think of the name of this doggone thing? Homeowner questionnaire. All right. So what's excluded from that single entity ownership calculation? When are we not worried about how many people, single owners own a certain amount of units? And so the following ones are excluded from that single entity ownership. So when the units that are not owned by the project or sponsor or developer are vacant or being actively marketed for sale, okay? Or if they're controlled or owned by a nonprofit entity for the purpose of providing affordable housing. I have not seen that a lot here in Georgia, but that's huge in Chicago, especially when they go into a neighborhood and they take over a kind of like a building and they kind of get rid of all the tenants. One of the things that they do is that they give a section of that, like maybe 15% or 10% or whatever have you, for affordable housing to allow people who used to live there in that neighborhood or people who don't have enough money to live in this revamped building an opportunity to still have a place to go. So that's kind of where you'll see something like that. Now, when can a single entity ownership be waived? So the single entity ownership requirement can be waived when the transaction is a purchase transaction that's going to result in a reduction of the single entity ownership concentration, okay? So when this happens, certain requirements have to be met. So the units owned by the single entity represents no more than 49% of those units. We need evidence the single unit is marketing units for sale to further reduce that, okay? How can we show that? MLS listing, showing that it's like a purchase, what do you call it? A purchase agreement, and this person is about to purchase this property as an owner occupied. Third, the single entity is current on all the HOA assessments. So that person that owns all those, they're current on everything. And then finally, there are no pending or active special assessments, okay? So you've got this situation where your borrower is purchasing a condo and this, let's go for 20 units because it's a little bit easier for us to show that it's over the 2 units. So they're purchasing a condo in this 20 unit building, but lo and behold, somebody owns 3 and they're a single person. So they're a single person, they own 3 units. Well, the HOA tells you, oh no, don't worry about it. This is about to be remedied because we've got this purchase contract. They're about to sell, this one, and then this person over here is going to sell this one, and that's going to reduce it. So the current purchase, and then they're already selling another one, and it's going to reduce that. So when we get that HOA questionnaire, came out this time, questionnaire. When we get that HOA questionnaire and we see that we're like 1 or 2 units above where we're supposed to be, we're going to reach back out to the HOA and we're going to ask them, hey, question, are there any other units for sale? Like, what's going on? Why do they own this many units? 9 times out of 10, nobody wants to not be eligible for Fannie Mae purchase, okay? There probably is something that's going on to remedy that situation. I don't like to use the word argue. I don't like to use the word, I just believe that where there's a will, there is a way. And so when you see situations where there is litigation issues, when you see situations where there's a single entity ownership issue, don't let your knee-jerk reaction to be like, oh man, you got to find another property. Let's do some investigative work and let's go ahead. I have this new saying that I put on every single last one of my posts. It's no foul left behind season. We're not leaving any fouls behind. We're going to figure out how to do it. All right, let's talk about established condos. So for those of you who are not as experienced as my experienced people on here, we know that established condos are 90% sold. They are 100% complete, okay? That means there's no areas that have not been done. They're not subject to any other phasing, okay? Meaning that if, in this little tiny image right here, you see that there are 4 buildings. All 4 of these buildings are complete. They're not building any more phases. And then last but not least, that HOA has been turned over to the unit owners. Now, there is a such thing as established with less than 90% units, okay? So a project can be treated as an established project with less than 90 of the units. So, okay, I don't know how that just happened. Let's go back. Okay. So provided that the deficient is the result of the developer holding back units for rent. What does that mean? So remember, a certain percentage can be rented. A certain percentage can be, owned by somebody who's not going to invest in that. So what they're saying is they've already sold the 90% or whatever have you to owner occupied people. That other 10%, they're holding those for investors or whatever have you to buy it. Of course, there's no other phasing. We talked about the phasing. It's been turned over to the unit owners. The HOAs are fees, they're paid and they're all current. And there's no active or pending special assessments. Special assessments, being, hey, we are going to change the color of this. So everybody's going to have to pay this amount of money, or we're going to change the fixtures over there or whatever happened. I'm just giving kind of vague examples of when we would be in a situation where there would be a special assessment. So I did say that I was not going to talk about how to get a new condo approved, but I did want to talk about like a new project. So we know that the new project is proposed, or it's new construction. Definitely fewer than 90%. It will be subject to additional phasing. The project is, it could be newly converted. So we got these buildings that were rented and now someone has took them and they turned them into a condo. And in this particular case, the HOA will still be in control. Now, when we talk to our borrowers and we're kind of getting all this condo documentation together, we want to get as much information as we possibly can. We might not need all that information, and we're going to talk about that a little bit further down the line. But especially when we're talking to our real estate agents, because we kind of are in the purchase season and they can get a hold of these documents for us, We want to see those CCNRs, okay, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions. We do want to see the budgets and the financial statements. We do want to see that insurance. And then, of course, we're going to send that condo questionnaire out. Now, talking to a lot of my mentees, I'm finding that there are a lot of companies that actually handle this now. I guess where they pay a fee or something, then that company gives you back that information or whatever have you. But this is the documentation that we want to get started with. And of course, we want to review this documentation before we send it to the underwriter. I say this all the time. You do not want your underwriter to know more about your borrower than you do. Now, the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, which we call the CCNRs, they're a set rule that kind of governs the association. Now, in this day and age, we've got this really cool function called the PDF search function, because we want to make sure that when we're looking at these CCRs, that certain things are addressed, that there's nothing funky in there, because the CCRs are going to be regulating stuff like the kind of fence that could be around the house, the kind of garbage cans that are allowed, and then most importantly, resale restrictions. And, as an underwriter, I'm reviewing this information to confirm that there is no ineligible language in that document. So a few examples of that would impact the loan are ownership. We just talked about, what types of ownership, the resale. We want to make sure that the loan, so we're making sure that if the loan goes into default, that the property can be sold. Because remember, if that property forecloses and Fannie or Freddie or whomever takes a hold of that property, they want to be able to sell it without, any issues. HOA fees and what they cover, what is covered in these HOA fees, permits, priority lien for unpaid common expenses in excess of Fannie Mae's priority lien limitations. What if I'm looking at this? So I just told you my secret. I am a control F freak when it comes to my credit report, when it comes to my assets. I've got my buzzword list and I just search, because a lot of these documents are a lot of pages long. And so in this particular example that I had in here is that, Fannie Mae needs to always be in first position. Freddie Mac always has to be in first position. USDA, FHA, VA, they need to be in first position. And, a lot of the older condos, sometimes they have language in there that might say something different. Membership fees, recreational amenities, remember that the only acceptable membership fees are membership fees paid for the use of recreational amenities owned exclusively by the HOA or a master association. Okay. So you'll have like a what do you call it? A condo that has a golf course or whatever have you. They sneak so much stuff in here. Like I just, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me, like how completely savvy these doggone builders are. They're getting better and better. So when you're dealing with these CCRs, write down your buzzwords. Write down your buzzwords right now. But what do you call it? Search for ownership. Search for resale restrictions. Search HOA fees. Search lien. Just put the word lien or limitations, whatever have you in there. Search membership fees. Look at that stuff, because I guarantee you when that underwriter looks at that, no, they're not reading 375 pages of CCNRs, but I bet you they are looking for certain words that would jeopardize the lender's lien position. We're looking at the budgets. I think I may have mentioned this before. Do we have adequate funds? It reminds me of when I'm looking at self-employed borrower documents. When I'm looking at these, what do you call that? When I'm looking at these tax returns, I'm not looking at them as a CPA. I'm not looking at them like I'm the IRS, okay? And when you're looking at these documents, you're not looking at them like you're an attorney. You're looking to make sure that they have adequate funds. No different than you making sure that your budget fits the amount, that your income fits the amount of your bills. When you're looking at this, you don't get overwhelmed. Okay, all right, do they have enough money to cover this? Do they have 10% reserves? Do they have some money for any expenses that could possibly come up? I think one of my mentees mentioned that they will ask for a reserve study. I guess that it kind of breaks down whether or not that will cover everything, or that they have enough or whatever have you. But we are in such what do you call it, a fast forward moving situation with our technology that I am just constantly and daily amazed at the different stuff that they're using to meet conditions or to address certain things. I'm not going to go super deep, excuse me, with the master policy. I'm just going to cover a couple of things. So the project must be treated to establish, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Sorry about that, guys. This is where we're at, okay? So property coverage. We're going to go over property coverage, project liability coverage, walls in. Everybody's familiar with the word walls in. Fidelity crime, policy deductible. Okay, so when we're dealing with the coverage endorsements, we want to make sure that we either have 100% replacement costs or a guaranteed replacement endorsement. All right. A standard 438 BFU endorsement allows the insurance policy to be assigned to another loan servicer. And so this endorsement must be referenced on the policy. I tell my processors that are mentees, I tell them all the time, ask questions. Ask questions. Everybody's HOA cert, everybody's documentation is different. It might be, it might be a code word. It might be on this different page or whatever have you. Call the insurance company, call the whomever, have your processor call them and ask them straight out, where does it say that it's 100% replacement cost? Where does it say that, it's guaranteed endorsement? Where is this 438 BFU? Ask these questions ahead of time, because I just want to say it again. As an underwriter, I don't want to know more about your borrower's loan than you do. I want you to tell me about your borrower's loan. And so all these questions and all this stuff should definitely be addressed up front. Was talking to a mentee yesterday, and one of the things that her and I are doing is we're establishing a certain type of checklist that is specific to her. If you signed up for this condo course, because there's certain things that you don't get or that you forget or whatever have you, create your own little checklist and let your processor know. Make sure this, and this is always addressed. Once you get through making sure that's addressed, scan it, copy it, put in the file so that I know that that's taken care of. I'm just really big on checks and balances. Project liability coverage, all right? So the $1 million is the buzzword, all right? Exceptions are for the limited streamline review or for the 2 to 4 units that meet certain requirements. Now, excuse me, the project is horizontal, no vertical or stack units, and evidence that the project does not contain any common elements that will require liability insurance, okay? Why would we need liability insurance? Pool, spas, gyms, whatever have you. The HOA legal documents do not require general liability policy in the name of the HOA, okay? So when are we concerned about something, more? If there's like a pool or if there's like a gym or a spa, whatever have you, we know that that is a completely different insurance issue. All right, walls in. So the HO6 required unless the master policy includes walls in coverage. This once again is another question that you just asked. When I was a processor, because I usually kind of go through my history, but I didn't at this time. but I am someone who actually processed loans, and I was an underwriter, which is where I kind of get my passion for helping, because I understand every single level of the process. I used to ask this question all the time because back when I was looking at these documents, number one, they were faxed. And so they were so doggone tiny or blurry that you could barely see it. And two, everything was some type of code language. And so I would call them and ask them, is there walls in coverage? Let me know what is, where is it? Where am I looking at, so that I can send this to the underwriter and not get any additional conditions back. Very big on not getting a lot of conditions. Now, if it's 20 units required, if it's 20 units or more, then fidelity and crime coverage. And I'm going to say usually it's 3 months HOA dues. All right. Hawaii is a little bit more. Hawaii is a lot more, actually, 500 per unit. So everybody's fidelity coverage is going to be reflected. Let me see. Oh, this is so tiny. I almost wish that I had put the what do you call it? The what do you call it? The amount of money that was on the HOA here. When we're looking to make sure that there's money, this is where that reserves is going to come in at. Okay, the amount of reserves that's going to be on that HOA questionnaire. So when we're talking about this amount right here, when we're talking about the 3 months HOA dues for all units, it's the amount that's here. All right. And then of course we want to make sure we have reserves, because why? We need to be able to recover, we need to be able to cover that. What is it called when you all right, it's gonna come to me. It's gonna come to me. Deductible. Couldn't get it out. Deductible. I have actually seen a policy where they did not have enough money to cover their deductible. And here's deductible. 5% of the face value of the policy. So you're looking at your questionnaire, and they don't have a lot of money. I believe the one that I saw that did not have enough money to cover the deductible, I think they may have maybe had a lawsuit, or a few people had got kicked out or whatever have you. But whatever the case may be, they did not even have enough money in their reserves to cover their deductible if something were to happen. And 5% of the value of the policy is the amount that the deductible that we're looking for that deductible to be, which also means that there needs to be enough money in their account, in their reserves, to be able to cover that deductible. Now, there's two types of condo reviews: the limited review and the full review. So we know that for a detached condo, we're not really concerned about that. Now, this is what I normally use, but you guys know that Florida is different than everybody else's, okay? And so we're getting a limited review on a primary residence, all right, when we're dealing with a 75% LTV, max 90% LTV. Second home is the same, okay? Now, I gave you guys a link to show you. Let's see if it's still in there. It should still be there. I gave you guys the link for new condo associations. I'm not really that familiar with Florida to know if they're constantly building condos. I know that there's a lot of development going down here in Georgia. I know there's a lot going in Chicago, but I do get that question a lot about the what if it's a new project? How do we know if it's approved? How we get it approved? Which is why I put that in there, because I didn't want to spend a lot of time on that. Every lender has their own limited review. I don't really spend a lot of time on the limited review. The underwriter is the one that usually does it. I do go over it with my mentees, but they're just asking, certain questions. Is the project new? Are the units attached? Is it a resort and stuff? Because we know that this is the stuff right here that's going to knock us out. We're not going to be able to do this anyway. You know, is it under control of the developers? Is it subject to any phases? And then then the second part, and this will be like on another page, are the common areas complete? Do the units have sole interest ownership and full rights of the different common areas? Is the project a conversion or whatever have you? When was the conversion? So the limited review just has a few questions, and usually you'll know if you can. Of course, the full review is a lot more, whole lot more.
Hi, Dion, excuse me. There's a question about where are the links that you're referring to?
If they scroll all the way to the top of the, let me see if I can put it. Can I copy it? Copy link. I'll put it so that it's back down there. Did it go? Yeah, I just put it back down there.
Awesome, thank you. And guys, just in case you didn't know it, those links are in the chat for the meeting. Thank you, Dion.
No problem. Here is the long project list. I mean, the long project review. And this is the one that the condo association will usually fill out. Sometimes they have an organization that'll fill it out, whatever have you. And like I said, I'm not going to go through every single last page. What I wanted to talk to you guys about were like litigation issues, single entity issues, and what we're looking for when we're looking at those CC&Rs and hazard insurance. We are actually did really good time. It's 10:42, and we're at the portion for questions. And I do like to preface this by saying this. I think that I am the greatest underwriter in the whole wide entire world. But I do not know everything. So if I have to table your question or whatever have you, just do a little bit more research. I can definitely do that. But at this time, if you guys like have any different questions, or if I went through something too fast, please let me know. Courtney said that they did record this. I'm not sure how FAMP does that. Michael, do they publish it? Do they email it? Do you know how they do the recordings?
I believe the recordings are going to be posted on the website in behind the login, so it would be available for access to to actual FAMP members. But that may be not, I may not be correct on that. I know that's the plan. We do a FAMP chat a couple times a month on Tuesdays, and that's the plan. Of course, some of it's still being uploaded and prepared, but that's the plan. And there's a question in the chat, Dion, about can you speak on how special assessments affect the 10% reserve calculation? And then there's another. So there's some questions in the group.
Is everybody on mute?
Yeah, I think everybody's muted. They should be able to unmute themselves. Can you guys unmute yourselves? Somebody test and speak there.
Justin, can you unmute yourself? Yes. And can you give me an example of what you're talking about?
Yes, I have a file currently with the lender that they're taking the special assessments and doing a calculation which they have not been able to clearly explain to us how they're doing this calculation, which reduces the reserve balance, and therefore they're determining that the project is not acceptable to Fannie and Freddie. So I was just interested if you run into that, or you could speak on that.
So what's probably happening is special assessments we know that they're what the condo people have to, I don't mean to call them condo people, the owners have to pay. So it almost sounds like a worst case scenario to me. What it's sounding like is, what if they don't pay these special assessments? Then this is how much it's going to cost the organization. My question would be, how long is the special assessment? So you know how like usually a special assessment might be 2 years or 3 years? Do you know how long it is?
So the last payment on the special assessment is due September 1st, and they have one unit owner that is refusing to pay. It's like $26,000. So it's a huge impact on the on the reserves. And I mean, if you can't get the unit owner to pay, and whatever this calculation is that they're doing, then they don't qualify. I mean, the project doesn't qualify is what they're telling us. We even had the real estate agent agree to pay the special assessment and then have it get returned back to her once the unit owner paid, but their attorney said that couldn't be done that way. Nice try, but we can't do that. It's got to come from the unit owner. So I was just curious because I hadn't run into that in the past. So I wasn't sure what exactly they were doing.
I would like to talk to you offline because is it a big project, Justine? Because I'm thinking that okay, first of all, $26,000 is a lot of money to me. Okay, let me just say that. Okay, but for a HOA, it would just seem like it wouldn't dent that, like it wouldn't dent their reserves that much. Am I making sense?
Well, it is when you're talking about the 10% calculation, and that's what they're saying is that when well, maybe it's in addition to that calculation, it's also in addition to the liquidity of the HOA. And once they don't have the 26,000. So in Florida, almost every condo project has deferred maintenance. And since we had, the collapse of the building in South Florida, that's become the key issue with all of these condo projects. And anything this project is it's on Treasure Island, so it's on the beach. So it's got a lot of deferred maintenance from the salt water and just the elements. All those repairs are in the process of being completed. And all that's been confirmed. It's just this special assessment now has caused the project to be ineligible. So I'm not 100%. So the information that we're getting, sometimes it's difficult to understand when you're speaking to someone that's calculating it. I think they have like a checklist. They're going through the little checklist and they're saying this doesn't work. And then when you're asking, well, why? Explain. They can't give you the explanation. Yeah, like I say, here's a checklist, it doesn't work. So
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I know someone's had a question, but I'm going to ask you another question. You said that the assessment will be over on September 1st.
Well, it's due. It's due.
It's due on the 1st, on September 1st. Right. And only one person has not paid it?
Correct.
So after that, wouldn't it go into litigation? Like, wouldn't they go after that person? Because if you think about everything that we just discussed, maybe we want the HOA questionnaire to not show the special assessment, but maybe wanted to show the litigation, because in that particular case, it does not affect, you know what I'm saying, it does not affect the structure, whatever have you, and it's them going after somebody else for money.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? And we could talk about it offline if you want to.
Okay, sounds good.
Here, I'm gonna send you. Where's Justine? Is it Justine? Am I tearing your name up?
Yes. Yes.
I just sent you my email address. I would say let's attack it with the lesser of two evils. Special assessments we can't win. Litigation we probably can, because the attorney is coming after him.
Okay, that's a good point. Thank you.
You're welcome. What are the deductions applicable to the HOA renewal calculating 10% reserves allocation required on the budget? Whoa, Ryan. What are the deductions applicable to the HOA? Ryan, can you come off mute for me? And Michael McCarthy, yes, we cannot unsee something. Wait a minute, is Ryan still on there? Ryan, can you talk to me for a second? Is that a no? Oh. I don't have a mic on the PC. Okay, all right, let me try and figure this out. Okay, hold on. What are the deductions applicable to the HOA revenue on the budget? Is this a situation that you're going through, Ryan? I didn't know I was going to be doing math, Ryan. Give me a second. We might have to take this one offline. Is he on there? Is this a situation where you don't have where they don't have enough? Because it's hard for me to answer some questions without actually looking at the questionnaire. All right, I just realized recently in the file that Fannie and Freddie don't require 10% of the full revenue for the HOA, but I wasn't sure which deductions could be applied. I think utilities are one. So glad you said that, because just like Justine just said, there's a lot of overlays and calculations that go on behind the scenes. So I really can't give you a calculation because some lenders are different, you know what I mean? But that might be another question I might want to, okay, understood, thank you, cool. Does anybody else have any questions that are not math related? I'm joking, ask me anything you want, I will get you your answer, I promise.
Dion,
Yes, Jerry.
how you doing, my dear? I want to ask you because obviously I think a lot of companies are using or utilizing the Fannie Mae Form 1076, which is quite an extensive questionnaire. And I just want to know, because I think there's some lenders, are they still utilizing limited review, or are lenders getting away from limited review in Florida?
Nope, you can do limited reviews. I've seen limited reviews in Florida. The problem is it has to meet certain LTV requirements. I'm seeing
So they're
a lot.
not having to, okay, they're not having to use a different, I guess, questionnaire or whatever, or, okay.
No,
Because it
because
seems to be, lenders seem to be changing on that.
it depends on the lender, because the loans that I've seen, and I'm coming from a different perspective because I'm dealing with a bunch of different, you know, I don't want to say too much. It really depends on the lender, because different lenders have their own condo project questionnaires. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac just want you to be able to answer certain points. And so it doesn't matter if it's this or if it's that, but I could definitely see, Jerry, Florida not getting as many limited reviews as other countries, as other states, because they pick on you guys. Your LTVs are much lower than other states or whatever have you. So I think that might be what you're seeing. And I don't know if you guys are seeing this, but I'm seeing two things right now. I'm seeing purchases and cash out refinances. I'm not seeing anything in between. And so it looks like people are starting to eat up that equity. So I think the limited reviews are going to kind of be far and in between. Oh, Florida is really, Ingrid is hilarious. Any suggestions on how to get the condo to complete the HOA correctly? For example, the engineer report states the building is safe, but then it lists the deferred maintenance. Oh my gosh, doesn't that get on your nerves? Appraisers are getting on my nerves, but I'm sorry. If there's any appraisers on the line, I'm so sorry. A lot of issue with structural comments that are just really going nowhere. So Ingrid, what I see the processors do is just either highlight or make them do it over again. I've literally seen 2 HOA certs and files, because they didn't clean their file properly. And you see this one that's dated a little bit later, and it doesn't have as much information as that other one. So usually you can't talk to these people because they're behind some closed door and they only want to deal with you through email or whatever have you. They're too, important. But I would specifically highlight certain areas and explain to them, what you do or what you don't want. So that they're not, I call it starting fires, you know what I mean? Opening up cans of worms, because what they might call deferred maintenance, we might not call that, you know what I mean? What an appraiser might call a crack a foundation crack might not be a foundation crack. It might just be something else. So just please, 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 I say this all the time, review it before it goes out. And if you see a problem, take it back to them. Listen, this right here is not making any sense. This right here is going to cause issues. Can you tell me exactly what you're talking about? What do you mean? Why does this need to be on here? And then if I'm not mistaken, Ingrid, just kind of tell me yes or no. Don't you guys have to pay for these HOA questionnaires? Because that's another issue that I'm hearing. Exactly. Okay, so if I'm giving you money to fill out a form, then I need you to fill it out correctly. And if you got to do it twice, then so be it. That's what the 450 is for. So, don't be afraid to ask questions. And no, and they don't, and refuse. Oh, no, they don't. Wow. I don't know about that. I would actually like to see an example of that. Can I send you my email address? I just want to see how else we can combat that, because that doesn't make any sense to me. This is what I'm talking about. Thank you, Ryan, because you're now getting into, what do you call it? You're now you're preventing me from getting my loan approval. You're charging me for a document, and then that document could possibly prevent me from getting my loan. So, somebody needs to get involved, but I would like to see that. So here's the funny part. You are the condo association. We need information about the condo. You are not an appraiser. You are not an engineer. You are not a builder. So technically, that's not your lane. Am I making sense, Ingrid? I'm with Justine. That's why I want to see it, because I'm just like, who's saying no? The health of your organization depends on you completing this document correctly. If people cannot sell or refinance because of the way that you're doing this, you're hurting the health of your own organization. So maybe it's just how we're wording it. Maybe we need to say something different, but I wouldn't have a problem at all helping you kind of fight that battle a little bit, Ingrid, if you want some help with that. All right. Now that Dion's got her gloves on, who's next? What are we doing next? Are these forms nationwide? They're pretty much nationwide. And the reason you heard somebody, I can't remember who it was, that asked that question about are people using those forms? Because when you're dealing with the really big companies, I don't want to say a big company's name in case they don't have it. So when you're dealing with a huge company, they very well, you very well might go onto their site and they got their own condo forms. They got their own self-employed borrower forms, but they are nationwide and they are acceptable because depending on your product, you are selling to Fannie Mae and you are selling to Freddie Mac, and they both accept, those forms. I do have a question for you guys. Was the litigation information helpful? If it was helpful, put a 1 inside the chat. I'm glad. I don't know what was going on a couple of months ago or a few months ago, but there's a reason why I did that. I did that because like 3 or 4 people back to back to back were coming to me and asking me what should they do, because the underwriter said that the property is in litigation and that the loan was dead. And they were like days before closing. And so it let me know that there is, number one, a problem with the underwriters. And then 2, some training need to be had. You know what I mean? I tell my mentees this all the time. When you get through with me, you're going to know more than average underwriter.
Well, if you remember, Dion, at the trade show, we learned that Florida has the highest amount of litigations, active litigations in the entire country.
I
So
did not remember that. Thanks, Kim.
see, that's why you had me sitting beside you.
This is why you're my
Yeah.
conference buddy. And listen, I'm about to go back to my website and I'm going to put Florida has the highest. Wait, email me what you just said. Because this needs
They
to
have,
be, yeah, we need to know this. And
yeah,
and
they have, if I remember right, Florida's number 3 in claims, but number 1 in active litigations.
yeah. It's
by
not
a
a
lot.
showstopper. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not a showstopper. It is not a showstopper. If you need me to look at something, help you with something, reach out, let me know. But litigation does not mean no. It just means, hold on, what's going on? All right, we are at the 11 o'clock hour. If no one else has any questions, did I ask you guys to connect with me on LinkedIn? Connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me put that inside the chat before we go. Let me see. Here I am on LinkedIn. And oh, wait, I just sent that directly to Ingrid. Ingrid, sorry about that. Is Ingrid still on? She's still on. I bet they send that to everybody. Thank you, Justine. I hope that you keep in touch because I don't mind helping you at all. We can get together and fight it out. And connect with me on Facebook if you are a Facebook person. I don't know what we're going to do next. I haven't talked to Linda yet, but I do want the women to know if you are not a part of Rise, and you can see Rise behind Kim right now, we have got some good stuff coming up. We got a mentoring program that's coming up. We've got some training coming up. We got some really, really, really exciting things cooking. So if you haven't joined Rise, please go to FAMP's website. If you're a woman, tell about 25 to 35 of your best female friends in the mortgage industry. Let them know about Rise so we can get those numbers out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dion. I was talking with my mic muted. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. And as always, thank you for being the very best part of the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals. Guys, I'm going to encourage you, if you're not active in your local chapter, please do so. And if you're not aware of some of what the Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals is doing for you, and it goes beyond the educational opportunities and the trade shows and things like that, all of which are really important. But understand that there's stuff we're doing that that we're in battle with with sometimes Big Brother, that are helping you as individual mortgage producers. If you're a small mortgage broker, there was an end of the universe, cataclysmic threat or apocalyptic threat that was going to require us to spend thousands of dollars for an unnecessary commercial grade VPN to operate behind if you don't work from a physical commercial office space. And it was pushed by a large mortgage lender, and FAMP was able to generate the protection that got rid of that requirement, that made the state of Florida make that go away. So please, keep in mind, and we're working on trigger leads and things like that. So stuff that's daily important to the business that you do. Your Florida Association of Mortgage Professionals is actively involved with that. So stay involved. And I love, what Dion said, invite people, she said to Rise, but also to your FAMP events, to your local chapter events. And my significant other is a plank holder founding member of Rise as well. So I'm a huge supporter. of that aspect of our association. So thank you so much. Have an amazing day, and peace out. So I don't know, Courtney, can you end the meeting?
Is Courtney still on?
Yes.
She is on.
Thank you,
Yep,
Courtney.
all good. Have